We are recording, Tom. Let's start from the beginning. Tom, first of all, before we start this recording, before we first start this recording, my name is James LaJudas. I'm an accredited VA claims agent representative. Texas Planning Associates helps facilitate the VA benefits. And I'm talking to my spokesperson, Tom Bray, who actually is a vet himself. And Tom, tell me a little bit about, if you don't mind, I want you to be very candid when we talk about your war background and what you went through and so forth. Tell me, what age were you when you enlisted in the war?
Well, I was born in 1932 and I enlisted in 51, so I was 18 years old. And went in the Signal Corps. I was in the Army Security Agency, which was a precursor to the National Security Agency. We were the code breakers in the military, carryover from World War II. They sent me to Fort Gordon, Georgia. I'm a Philly boy. They sent me to Fort Gordon, Georgia. First time I had a taste of the South and the heat, and did basic training for 8 weeks. I went through all that stuff, learning to shoot, learning to stay at attention, learning to pay attention, learning discipline. I think that's an important thing that all youth should go through, as a discipline if they don't get it anywhere else. And then they sent me back to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, to radio repair school. I was a radio specialist, as I said. And I did that for about 10 weeks, 12 weeks, something like that, about 6 months in Fort Monmouth, which was kind of neat because I lived in Philadelphia, so I got to go home almost every weekend. And then after that, we got our so-called orders, and the talk around the barracks was, well, somebody's going to Iwo Jima, which wasn't as bad as it was in World War II, but it wasn't a nice place to be. Guam, some were going to Tokyo. Let's hear it for Tokyo. I'm up for that. Pretty much all of our people, because the war was just starting to really heat up and they needed replacements. And I wound up going to Korea. And it was kind of interesting. My buddies gave me a farewell party, and one of the fellows gave me a sympathy card because I was going to Korea. This happened to be a buddy, by the way, that enlisted in the Navy when I enlisted in the Army, and he got stationed in Atlantic City, New Jersey, 90 miles from Philadelphia. So I'm an unusual guy in the fact that I'm a Korean War veteran, and I spent I was in the Korean War in Korea. I had two friends. One, my friend Jack, spent it in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So if the Koreans ever attacked us in Atlantic City, he was cool. He had that covered. And then my other friend spent the Korean War in Shreveport, Louisiana. He defended the Midwest for us. But I was in Korea. They sent me to Japan for a couple of days. And then they put us on the noisiest airplane I've ever been on in my life and sent us to Korea. And we were in Seoul for a couple of days. And the thing about this part of the story that always fascinates me, you look at Seoul today, it looks like a metropolitan city. Houston, New York, Chicago, Tokyo, what have you. In those days, the tallest standing building was a 3-story, what used to be the American Embassy, which they used as their headquarters, the Korean headquarters. And he said that was the tallest building in town. I mean, everything else was leveled. They'd bombed the bejesus out of Seoul, you know, when the war first started. So I was attached to a group that was a Signal Corps, and we were the ASA, and we had a group of people who were code breakers. They were dot guys. They listened to all the transmission, and we did all that. And I spent about, I guess, a month in the encampment in Seoul. And then they decided to send me to a forward DF site. And the forward DF site was always behind the enemy lines because we got as close as we could to monitor the signals. And it was, for an 18, 19-year-old kid, it was kind of exciting and kind of scary, and a combination of a little of this and a little of that. But we were up there, and there were 12 of us on the site. It was just a small platoon, and a squad, I guess. And we had someone that took care of the mechanics. We had a guy that cooked but didn't know how to cook. This is the Army, after all. And we had a Korean houseboy who probably could have been a chef because he did all the cooking. And then we had various people on the deal. We were 24/7. We had shifts around the clock. And the DF equipment was established in a rice paddy, so we literally walked through the rice paddy to get to our job. And my job was to maintain the equipment. We had a huge transmitter. We had the various receiving and sending equipment and what have you. And I was there, I guess, for about 2.5 months. One of the interesting things, just to give you the idea of how war goes, at first the Korean War wasn't a war, it was a police action, but they've since clarified it as a war. But we were attached to 1st Marine Division, which was about 20 miles away, up against the front lines again, but further north than we were. And we would go up there for supplies and what have you.